I'm worried that the phrase "a tough act to follow" is starting to kind of lose its punch. Maybe I should try to change this a little bit, rebrand, get a different catchphrase.
This is a man that knows how to marry his cousin.
You know what, on second thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Welcome to A Tough Act to Follow. I'm Preston, aka the Ploominator, and I will be your mystic master of magic, here to introduce you to all the secrets of actors from the less often seen sides of Hollywood. But before I get started, I want to make sure that everyone's getting the full experience of the Ploomination by sharing, liking, and subscribing, and all that other wonderful stuff that you do to keep this channel going. And this month I'm looking at an actor who, despite their massive power and presence, can get lost in the background from time to time. A man who is iconic not so much for how he looks, but for the powerful voice he utilizes time and time again, and ultimately for his consistency in all genres, sizes of roles, and movie storylines, no matter how crazy they get or weird they may be. I'm talking about one of the most iconic voices in Hollywood, and that is Keith David. And while I could literally make this video just a celebration of his work as a voice actor, I actually think that would be doing a disservice to the full power that Keith David brings to every performance. Because he allows the work that he does to create better characters and he embodies them fully, and it's allowed him to continue to have a phenomenal career of numerous varied roles which keep coming up in all mediums of performance. There was so much to say and so much to celebrate about Keith David, and that makes him a tough act to follow. Let's get the obvious part out of the way, the voice. Keith is one of those actors who's often known for how he sounds more than how he looks. He has a powerful, resonant baritone voice that just commands the screen and can make even the most ridiculous of lines sound incredibly regal. It's allowed him to narrate phenomenal documentaries with prestige and power, but also made him more diverse in the roles that he's been able to play. And there's no mistaking Keith's voice when it comes out of literally anything.
Huh? Something's wrong. Shouldn't the old well be here?
Nothing out here. It's the empty part of this world. She only made what she knew would impress you. She wants something to love, I think. Something that isn't her. Or maybe she just loves something to eat.
And this sense of regality isn't locked in stone either, nor does it even define the whole character. While Keith's voice has notable qualities that make it easy to identify, it is also a finely tuned instrument that can be adjusted to fit whatever the character needs to be and take that character farther and farther over time. The roles can be fairly static in terms of full character development, but ultimately will show range and growth beyond their initial understanding, and that is all done with Keith's voice alone sometimes.
You know you're walking right into her trap.
I have to go back. They are my parents.
Challenge her, then. She may not play fair, but she won't refuse. She's got a thing for games.
Okay.
But then he throws this into live action and uses the power of that voice to add to the power of his presence with his physicality as well. This allows Keith to be intimidating when he needs to be, calm when he needs to be, and even chaotic and manic when he needs to be. But the voice and the physicality have to match, or the character doesn't work.
Ali.
Or, if they don't match, it has to be purposeful, either to the moments within the story or the story as a whole. There are times when the rules can be broken, and those times can be both comedic or dramatic depending on the story. In comedy, it can be used to help justify a character as a force of comedic dichotomy. Aspects don't match, and that makes it funny. Dramatic differences, however, are more about making the characters grow through tension and showing that they are more than one thing. Keith is great at these moments because he builds them well when they need to happen.
Carolyn.
And all these contrasts, both vocal and physical, are fueled by motivations, and those motivations have to be founded in something. Keith finds strong reasons for his character's choices. He makes those choices clear. He does this by pushing his motivations through everything, including his lines and his physical actions, and this helps showcase the character's choices and motivations more deeply.
Wait!
You better find yourself someplace to hide and keep praying nobody ever finds you.
Try these on.
Look, you crazy mother.
Put these on.
Hey, stay away from me.
I'm telling you, you dumb son of a... I'm trying to save you and your family's life.
You couldn't even save your own.
And yet these aren't impulses either. They have thoughts, reasons, and above all else a clear and well-developed sense of rationale behind them. He's worked through the choices of his characters, and those choices are able to help motivate the action and inaction of those characters. Bold choices are easy to convey, reluctant ones aren't always. Keith does both, and it shows.
They're killing everybody.
I gotta find her.
Wait a minute, man. Are you crazy?
I gotta see if she's all
Just
right.
stay back. There's nothing you can do out there. If I can get this thing working, we can listen in.
Frank.
What?
Frank.
What?
Frank.
What?
Consent to
Oh,
switch.
shit.
And then you push through these choices and find there is always subtext. And this is hard to convey in live action, but it's even harder to do when you only get to use your voice. Keith shows levels of subtext beyond the surface at numerous levels, and it makes the character he plays far more interesting every time. It makes heroes seem fueled by wild devotions to disparate causes, and villains have truly developed fears as they work through their own villainous causes.
So, we got ourselves a deal. Now we're cooking. We're gonna find ourselves a frog. Search everywhere. The bayou, the quarter. Bring him to me alive. I need his heart pumping. For now.
And yet these choices have to be both hidden in places, but still motivating the moments when they are defining those characters. Keith lets these layers be present and hidden well beneath the surface, but they are still there, and this allows them to be complex and interesting because there is something about his characters we don't notice until we have to, and it helps keep them fun and exciting the whole time.
Sit down at my table. Put your minds at ease. If you relax, it will enable me to do anything I please. I can read your future. I can change it around some too. I look deep into your heart and soul. You do have a soul, don't you, Lawrence? Make your wildest dreams come true. I got voodoo, I got hoodoo, I got things I ain't even tried. And I got friends on the other side.
But the biggest tool that Keith uses is his ambiguity as an actor. Keith takes his work to these places of closed and distant performances, and that makes the characters interesting, which helps because he's often not one of the main characters in the story. There is often something about him that keeps us watching even when he's only got a few moments in the spotlight.
Let's do it. Get me out of here. Cut me loose. Cut me the hell. Come on, get me out of here. Come on, get me out of here. Cut me loose, damn it.
Ambiguity also helps the story because it keeps the character interactions interesting. And these interactions not only help the characters Keith plays develop, it also helps them work alongside the other characters and develop those characters as well, from the very first moment to the very last one.
You the only one who made it?
Not the only one.
Did you kill it?
Where were you, Charles?
Thought I saw Blair. I went out after him. Got lost in the storm.
All in all, Keith is a powerhouse performer who needs to be given far more credit for his work because he's consistently showing up and blowing the performances out of the water. And he's been some of the best characters in everything that he's been in. And the sooner that we see that, the sooner we can watch a far wider array of movies, TV shows, and all pieces of media in between. So why do we like Keith David? 1. Keith has a powerful voice. There is no greater tool in Keith's toolbox than the sheer iconic power of his voice. The work he does, large and small, infuses detail and nuance into his roles even without his his physical presence there to back it up. 2. Keith holds the screen. No matter who Keith is playing, when he is on screen, he lets his physical presence reflect or contrast his voice in ways that help make the character more deeply interesting and compelling. 3. Keith motivates everything. Voice, physical presence, and all intentional choices are motivated by the way that Keith lets his thoughts process. He pushes himself to not act on pure impulse, but instead uses the tools he has to help drive the choices he makes in believable and interesting ways. 4. Keith adds subtext. In all performances, Keith lets the characters he plays have deep and interesting subtext in all of their choices. This subtext makes the choices more clever and therefore helps them have weight beyond just being impulsive decisions. It also makes the characters better developed over time. 5. Keith utilizes ambiguity. The complexity of Keith's characters allows them to exist within a world of ambiguity. This gives them power as characters and him power as an actor to play a wider range of characters, and it helps us believe each one is who we think or don't think they are as they become developed over the course of the story. It also allows him to showcase relational growth in interesting and unique ways that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten. Keith David is a powerhouse. I mean, a lot of people already know that, but it needs to be said again. And while I have a long list of TV shows, video games, and cartoons that I could list as my favorite of his performances, this is all about those movies. So here are the movies where he shines the brightest. These are my 5 essential Keith David performances. 1. Coraline. This animated fairy tale of sorts features Keith only in a small dose, but the way he uses his voice in this movie is so compellingly unique that it helps show his range as an actor. It's just a taste, but it shows so much of what he's capable of. 2. Pitch Black. This sci-fi thriller allows Keith to use his physical power almost more than his voice. He holds the screen with presence and grace that contrasts the harsh landscape, story, and even harsher characters around him. 3. They Live. This movie walks a fine line between sci-fi action and political thriller, and all in a way that lets the performances be big when they need to be. Keith supplies a strong contrast to lead Roddy Piper, and it allows them to work together to help drive the plot and the action in bold ways. 4. The Princess and the Frog. Keith listed the villainous Dr. Facilier as one of his favorite voice roles, and it shows in this retelling of the classic fairy tale. He provides so much subtext through his voice alone, and it all works to make him stand alongside some of the greatest villains in the Disney canon. 5. The Thing. This is one of the best horror movies of all time. This one-part tense mystery, one-part body horror nightmare features timeless effects and earth-shattering tension. All through the movie, Keith stands as a bold but thoughtful contrast to Kurt Russell's brash MacReady, and it helps their final conversation be a high moment of tension in an already tense movie. And that is why Keith David is a tough act to follow. Thank you all so much for watching. Which Keith David roles are your favorites? Who else would you love me to talk about? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to vote in the poll I posted before to see who you get to choose to come into a video in the future. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you do, I will be sure to stick with you if an alien tries to take over our bodies. And to ensure you never miss another episode of A Tough Act to Follow, One to Watch, Complex Casting, or Welcome to the Party Pal, be sure to subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and as I always say, thanks for taking the time to get Ploominated.